What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm gonna go over 6 cars that could be a fantastic alternative to a Nissan GTR. If you're new to the channel, I've owned this car over 3.5 years, originally paid less than 70 grand for it, but in today's market, it's worth around 80, looking at all the competitive cars that are out for sale right now. So with that said, for $80,000 in today's market, what kind of car can you buy and what kind of fun can you get out of it? The GTR has been an amazing car to own. I love it. There are so many awesome factors with this car, but there are quite a few other cars for the same type of money. They may not be direct competitors, but they still offer a heck of a lot of fun, modification potential, they look cool, and of course they're cool cars to get. So anyways, let's go over 6 awesome cars you could get instead of a GTR. So number 1 on the list happens to be the car that shares the garage with my GTR, which is my brother's Audi R8. This is a 2012, it has a V8 engine, and it's paired to a 6-speed manual, and it is a very rare gated shifter, which is super cool. You only see that in older Lamborghinis and Ferraris and some older Italian cars, but the fact that this has the gated shifter just makes it that much more special. So he bought this with 20,000 miles on it. Some of the good things about it, it's got the mid-engine, which makes it handle so well. The weight balance and everything is so good in the car. There's a low center of gravity. It's super nimble around corners, in the track, in the mountains. It is a heck of a lot of fun to drive. So this one is basically one of the more expensive V8s. You can also get a V10. However, if you want a manual, you're gonna be well over $100,000 in the market. This car being the manual and just having the V8 engine, you can get them low into the $80,000 range. You can also get them a little bit cheaper if you go for the automatic transmission paired to the V8, or if you got an automatic V10 with some higher mileage, you could get in this price range as well. Either of them are great options depending on your own needs. Personally, and of course my brother's opinion, we like the V8 with the manual just because you get a great power plant, but of course you get the added fun with a stick shift. These cars are pretty reliable. This is the second one my brother's owned. He's never had a single issue with either car. He had the other one for about 1 year, and then this one he's put 3,000 miles on it in 4 months of ownership, and it's been perfect, no issues. Maintenance is pretty easy as well. Underneath, of course, it's still just an Audi, so parts are readily available and they really don't cost all that much. Maintenance also isn't too bad. It's around 150 bucks for an annual oil change, and overall it's a heck of a lot of fun. It looks exotic and you really can't go wrong, especially for the price. So number 2 on the list, we got another German car, which is of course the Mercedes Benz AMG GT. You can buy this in a coupe or a convertible. It's got a twin turbocharged V8 engine, front engine, rear wheel drive, dual clutch transmission. Being a Mercedes, the interior is beautiful, covered in leather. You can have carbon fiber accents. Everything is really top notch on the inside. It is a fantastic car to be in. Exterior lines, it's a beautiful car. I've driven a convertible version of it. Mike's driven a coupe, and they are fast. They have so much meat to them. Mercedes makes an insanely awesome V8 twin turbo engine. There's so much torque. It sounds amazing. It handles great. They have a nice little trunk as well, so it's pretty practical. You could use it as a daily driver like a normal car, and yet you could hit the mountains and the track with it and have an absolute blast. From what I've seen, they're pretty reliable. You know, older Mercedes might have some electrical issues, but I really haven't seen any issues with the AMG GT. It seems like a pretty solid car overall. And then with modifications, you can tune up those engines and make a ton more horsepower without even thinking. You can get that car into the 600 or 700 mark at the wheels. It's got a good blend of everything, and it's a really exotic looking car, but being still a Mercedes like the Audi R8, it still is a normal car technically, and you can get parts easily, so it's not like it's gonna be a crazy exotic car to own, but you get the exotic flair, the performance, the power, the interior, and just a really good blend. For number 3 on the list, we actually have a grouping of 3 different cars for all in this one category, just because they're all too similar to make in different categories. So with that said, we have a Camaro, a Mustang, and a Challenger, but not just any basic muscle car. We're talking about the top-notch ones, a ZL1 Camaro, a Shelby Mustang, and a Hellcat or Dodge Demon. Those cars have huge V8 engines with superchargers, making anywhere from 500 horsepower up to 800 horsepower, or even more than that if you modify them. These cars are readily available, and being American cars, you can get them nearly brand new for that price with low mileage. The interiors are a little bit cheaper on these cars comparing it to any German car or even a GTR, so it's a little bit more basic. But you have an absolute powerhouse, big brakes, they're all rear wheel drive, and they're great for drag racing. The Challenger you don't really want to take on the track or the mountains that often just because it's pretty big, but the Mustang and Camaro are fantastic in the corners. Modification potential is through the roof with those cars. You can do anything and make those 1,000 horsepower cars all day long for not that much money. And being that these are nearly brand new cars, you're starting off from a great platform. You don't have to worry about what the owner did before you because you get almost a new car. All of them have a similar layout to the GTR as well. They have nice trunks, they have rear seats, and being basic brands, Chevy, Ford, and Dodge, you know, there's a dealership everywhere, so you can get parts whenever you need to. Maintenance isn't an issue because again, it is a basic car underneath, but you get all the fun factor, all the performance. In my area, they're not really rare cars. I see those cars all the time, so to me, they're nothing special. But at the end of the day, when you drive them, they are fun to drive, fast, modifications, practicality, like I said, you really get a good blend. And that's one thing that's really good about American cars. You kind of can get everything for a really good price. And these all being nearly new, kind of a hard car to argue with. For number 4 on the list, we have our only brand new car, which is the new 2021 BMW M4. I've driven a few of the M4s, the M4 Competition, and the M3s. Honestly, I am a huge fan of it. And we're of course talking about the M4 because it has the same layout as this. Rear seats, 2-door, and a nice sized trunk and front engine. The M4 is a really cool car. It's a little bit toned down comparing it to a GTR as far as the performance goes. The M4 Competition has around 503 horsepower, has an inline 6-cylinder twin turbocharged engine. So because this engine is a little bit bigger, coming in at 3.8 liters versus a 3 liter, this car can make more power. And with the all-wheel drive in a GTR, of course the launch control is ridiculous. But with the M4, it's rear-wheel drive, and with modifications, you're still able to get that car up almost to this kind of power. And being rear-wheel drive, you wouldn't exactly want all the power of a GTR. That car, you can get it in a manual transmission, you can get carbon fiber bucket seats, and you can also get it in a ZF 8-speed automatic if needed. So you have a really good blend of options. Being brand new, you can spec it however you'd like. Being brand new, if you don't do any modifications, you have a warranty for like 4 or 5 years. And even if you get into modifications, from what I've seen, the newer BMWs are very reliable. They seem to be pretty good, especially with the turbo engines. The old school V8s weren't the best. They had some issues, and older BMW in general wasn't the best. But from what I've seen, a lot of the newer cars are much better than the past, and it really gives you a good blend of everything. You get the brand new car, you can customize it 100%, and you get the power potential, you get the modification potential that a GTR has, but you're over on the German side of it. You still get the layout of the car to where it's a daily driver. You can drive it every day of the week. You can put people in the back seats, you can put luggage in the trunk, and then you can take it to the racetrack and have an absolute blast, or in the mountains. And the fact that a manual is available, that's a really cool thing. Of course, the muscle cars we talked about before, you can get manuals or automatics as well, but it's nice to see that muscle car take moving over to a European car. So the M4, I think, is a fantastic car. I would not mind having one in the garage. However, one of the downsides, being a brand new car, depreciation might hit you a little bit. In today's market, the GTRs have been appreciating. I can make money if I sold this car, which is nuts to think about. And then all the other cars on the list being used, they've already hit their flat level to where they're kind of holding steady. You know, the R8, Mike can sell this any day of the week for exactly what he paid. Even 5 years from now, it's probably gonna be worth the same, if not more. The muscle cars, they've already hit their drop now that they're on the used market, and they're gonna hold pretty steady. Same with the other cars I've talked about. So that's the only issue with a brand new car, but you do get that trade-off of being, it is brand new, customizing it exactly the way you want. So anyways, on to number 5, which is from Porsche. So you got the 911 or a Cayman, and once again, we're grouping cars just because it doesn't make sense to have 20 cars on the list since some of them are very similar to their competitors. But of course, the 911 and a Cayman are pretty similar cars. In the 911, you get back seats just like you get in the GTR, and the trunk storage space is actually pretty usable, as well as using the space behind the rear seats. So this is a car you can daily drive all day long, just like you can in a GTR. A huge plus with a 911 is you can get all-wheel drive, and if you get a turbo or an S model or a GTS model, it's kind of hard to pick and choose which 911 is in the right price range, because some can range from really cheap all the way up to $1 million cars. But in that $80,000 range, there's a really good selection of 911s. So you have the layout to be a daily, you can get a manual transmission or a dual clutch. Porsche's PDK is one of the best DCTs offered, and they are absolutely mind-blowing. And with all-wheel drive, if you can get a turbo version, the launch control is crazy. The flat 6 sounds amazing on those cars, and Porsche is actually pretty reliable. Some older ones might not be the best, but a lot of the newer cars are really nice and solid. The interior also has a lot of really good materials, and you feel like you're in a high quality car. And being Porsche, there's a million dealerships around. They're really not that rare, so you can easily get parts. It might be a little pricey to maintain just because parts aren't the cheapest, but because they're pretty reliable cars, you really shouldn't have any issues with that. And then on top of that, if you're looking to modify it, there's a lot of aftermarket support for these cars, and you can really go all out. And then if we look at the Cayman, the GT4s are still around that $100,000 mark, but there's some pretty cool GTS models or S models or other newer Caymans in that price range, and you can almost get a brand new one for that, even if you went with more of a base model. That car, you have a trunk in the front and in the back. It's only a two-seater, so you lose some of that practicality for people, but you do make up on that with the two storage areas. And it's a fun car to drive. It's rear-wheel drive, once again, manual or automatic, and just a good nimble cornering car. It might not be the fastest in a straight line. A turbo 911 is gonna smoke it, as is a GTR and everything else on this list. But the Cayman is a really good blend of everything, a good daily. It has that classic Porsche design, good interior, and just a fun car for the money and almost brand new. So then last on the list, we have another clumping of two cars now for number 6, which is the Chevrolet Corvette. We have a C7 or the C8. Now with the C8 though, brand new, you could order one for around $80,000, well equipped with some good options like a Z51 package and the nicer seats. Only issue with that, current market as of today, they're already sold out, so you're not even gonna get one. You're gonna get a 2022, and it's probably gonna take a year to get. So used market is realistically the only way to get one, and those are over 100 grand right now. So technically, yes, you can get a C8 Corvette right now for that price, but you're gonna have to wait a year. What can you get right now for 80 grand? You can get a used C7 Z06, which has a supercharger on it, has 650 horsepower and torque. You get a manual or an automatic. Those are so much fun to drive. They sound amazing, massive V8 engine. They're only two-seater, so you don't have the practicality like a GTR, but they have a huge trunk, and technically it's a hatchback to where you could actually fit a golf bag in there and other larger items to make it pretty usable. No matter what you do, they are a convertible. You have the removable Targa roof, or you can get a power folding top. Being a Chevrolet, once again, you can go to any Chevy dealer if something does happen with the car, and it's really not all too expensive to maintain and own. On top of that, they've held their values pretty well, even with the C8 coming out, and because they have so much power and performance, they are an absolute blast. The track, the mountains, it can kind of do it all. So whether it's a C7 Z06 or a new C8, if you can actually get one, those are two great cars. The C8, you do have two trunks in it. It's not that fast in a straight line. It has a good launch control though, but in the straight line, it's not really too crazy powerful, but nonetheless you get an exotic look, you get an amazing interior with a lot of cool materials, and it just looks super cool. You can get a retractable hardtop, or again you get the Targa roof that can pop off and be put in the rear trunk, so it's a pretty good blend of a car. So that's the final list, 6 really cool cars that you could get for the same money as a Nissan GTR. I think all the cars offer something different. The GTR, in my opinion, offers just such a cool experience, and there really is no car exactly like it. But all the cars on the list, they all offer something unique, and they have a lot of power, potential for mods. They have good practicality to be driven all the time. Reliability, maintenance really isn't too big of an issue, and all the cars are just gonna be fun cars to own. And 80 grand is a pretty good budget for a heck of a fun car. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.